Yep. It's almost 2019, so I want to go down some of my top 10 favorite moments of 2018 with you guys. It has been an amazing 2018. I cannot thank you guys enough for that, because without you guys, I wouldn't be putting out the content that I am putting out right now, and I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without you guys. So a big, huge thank you to the Madhouse. I really, really appreciate all my inmates, and I really am thankful for each and every one of you. Now, this is a list I handpicked myself of my top 10 favorite moments of 2018, because these are some of the things, some of the highlights that I thought were my favorite moments of 2018, and nonetheless, they've just made me happy throughout the year, and I love doing them. I love making content for you guys and stuff like that. So yeah, let me pull up my list real quick and we'll get started. So number 10 is going to go with collaborating with Jed Bryan, the director from the movie Unlisted Owner, and SoCal Exploring on the Mindless Horror podcast. Now, that was a very fun and a very interesting interview I had with Jed Bryan on the Mindless Horror podcast. We had just launched the podcast. I think we were like freaking 4 or 5 episodes in, and Jed Bryan had asked me personally if I would interview him for his movie. I guess he heard of the Mindless Horror podcast, and so we did the interview, and SoCal Exploring guest star. That was the first and only podcast we had 2 guest stars on, and I was very, very thankful for that. It kind of gave me a little pathway of how to do interviews. What I did to get there, I don't know, but yeah, it was really good, and it was one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done. Number 9 is going to be collaborating with Xander Lawson. Now, Xander, if you guys don't know, went by the name Theme Park Info for the longest time, and finally changed the name back to Xander Lawson because he felt that if it's his channel, he should just, put his name on it. We collaborated on a couple of videos. Mainly, I think we were talking about some HHN predictions or announcements and stuff like that, and that was a pretty fun video. That was the one and only time I've collaborated with him, so Xander, if you're out there, hit me up. Number 8 is going to go with meeting John Murdy at Midsummer Scream. Now, I did not catch this on camera, however, I do have a picture of it, and that was a fun day. That was the day I was my very first horror convention, so I didn't know what to film, what not to film, and stuff like that. Now I know, and I kind of made up for it at Scare LA, but nonetheless, we had an amazing time, me and George, at Midsummer Scream, and we got to meet John Murdy. Now, me and George had just gone to get something to eat, and when we came back into the convention, John Murdy was talking with none other than Mike Aiello. We was talking to Mike Aiello, and they were talking about the panel of what they're going to do for the panel. This was the first ever panel that we got the East Coast and the West Coast together, and it was a really good panel. Number 7 is going to be Midsummer Scream itself. Now, the event was, like I said, my very first horror convention, and I had an amazing time. I want to try to get media for next year's, but who knows where I'll be next year. So, thank you, Midsummer Scream, for putting on an amazing event, and I cannot wait to attend next year. So, yeah, Midsummer Scream, I'm going to be back. Number 6 is going to go to Scare LA. Now, Scare LA was the first panel and everything that I filmed and put on the channel. I had a really good time and stuff like that, and I just had an amazing time with Athena. We kind of just went and enjoyed the event. We went through some of the mazes that they offered. We went and checked around a lot of the vendors. Then we attended the HHN panel where they shared a lot of details about the Universal Classic Monsters Maze, which in my opinion took the fucking show this year. But nonetheless, Scare LA was an amazing video, and that was, like I said, my first panel I ever put up, so I had an amazing time. Number 5 is actually going to go to starting the Mindless Horror podcast. Now, if you guys don't remember, back on January 23rd, 2018, me and George launched the Mindless Horror podcast. Now, George no longer does co-host with me, but that doesn't mean he's gone of the channel forever. I do have a co-host, new co-host, Sammy, and Sammy helps me co-host the thing right now. But nonetheless, the Mindless Horror podcast is one of my babies, and I am going to carry on with it until I'm just finished with podcasting, which probably won't be anytime soon. But nonetheless, I am excited and happy to have the Mindless Horror podcast. That's actually the first ever Nights of Horror t-shirt that I made. Only, I think, 3 people have that t-shirt, or 2 people. 2 people. I think only 2 people have that t-shirt, just me and George. But yeah, if you guys see me around at a convention or something, it's going to say Mindless Horror Podcast on the front and the back of my logo. My very first t-shirt ever for the channel, and yeah. So yeah, the Mindless Horror Podcast, like I said, is going to go down in history as one of my favorites. Number 4 is going to be collaborating with Awkward Arsic. Now, back when I got my injury, when I broke my ankle, I was out of commission for a while, staying at my mom's for a couple of months, and a lot of stuff like that. But in that time, I collaborated with a lot of YouTubers, Awkward Arsic being one of them. I remember him coming on the podcast saying that he was weird and stuff like that. He don't know if he'll, how he will, be, but he was one of my favorite guests on the podcast, and he did an amazing job. So Arsic, if you're out there too, hit me up. Let's get another collaboration in the works, because we had a good time doing it. That guy's doing a lot of good things right now, and go support all the YouTubers I talk about in this video. Number 3 is going to be the near 3-hour podcast I did with TLEV. That is both the longest podcast and the most highest view podcast on the channel. If you guys want to go see that, if you want to sit there for 3 hours and listen to me and the league talk about horror news that have probably already happened already, go ahead and check that out. But that was one of my favorite podcasts because that was the first time I actually first collaborated with TLEV, and now they're very good friends of mine. And I was nervous going into this interview, and then coming out of it, I knew that these guys were fucking awesome. I knew that from the get-go, from the start when I first watched them on YouTube, and they are some of the inspirations for this channel. But coming into that interview, I was just nervous. Again, I was on injury, so I was kind of just recording it and stuff like that. But that was legit my favorite podcast I've ever done, and I cannot be more thankful for those guys for sitting there with me for 3 hours and talking and stuff like that. Like I said, they're just, I know they're gonna go places. And 2 is gonna be, I collaborated with TLV 2 more times this year, and that was when we went to the farewell of Jurassic Park and Halloween Horror Nights, the closing weekend. We did the Try Not to Get Scared challenge. That was very fun. I got to talk with Mr. Emore, and Mr. E's really cool. And then they had a group meetup, and we had like an entire group for the night, and that was very, very fun. I got to meet a lot of cool people on top of hanging out with the league. A lot of their fans are really cool people and stuff like that. I was talking with like just a bunch of people, and we just had a good time that night. But we filmed the Try Not to Get Scared challenge. That's going to be hopefully a yearly thing we're going to try to keep up with. We got a freaking championship involved and stuff like that. I want to actually make a custom title that's for the Try Not to Get Scared challenge, so that would be really cool. But yeah, nonetheless, anytime collaborating with TLEV is honestly a blessing, and it's just really fun to do because I enjoy it for one, and I love collaborating, and they're honestly the down-to-earth coolest people you can ever meet. And like I said, I'm so thankful to have them as friends. I'm gonna do an honorable mention before I get to number 1, and that is last night, as of this recording, I got to meet Dead Meat James and his girlfriend, and they were honestly 2 of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. These 2, they put on some amazing content between the Dead Meat podcast, the kill counts, the cut comparisons, a bunch of different content and stuff like that, and I could not be more thankful meeting them. We went to a Tenacious D concert last night, me and George. I saw them in line, and then after the show, we ran into them again, and they were just really cool. We got to talk to them for at least like 5-10 minutes, and they were just really cool. And you could tell Dead Meat James, as much work as he puts into his content, he is just very thankful for his fans. And that, when you're a fan of something, you're gonna be thankful for someone who's supporting you. I get it, because like I'm getting a lot of support from people on YouTube, and it's really awesome. But Dead Meat James, I can tell he's gonna go places. He is already going places, and hope to see him get to the 10 million one day. That'd be fucking awesome. But yeah, thank you, Dead Meat James, the Dead Meat crew, your amazingly talented girlfriend as well. Thank you for very much taking the time to talk to me and George, to get a picture with you guys, and to also thank you for the subscription. That was fucking mind-blowing. I couldn't believe you did that last night.
Another honorable mention I want to bring up is my boy Eddie Tainment, because Eddie Tainment and I have collaborated in a lot of stuff this year, so thank you, Eddie, for being a fucking legend. West versus East and The Breakdown, both gonna be more on the channel this year, so look out for those. Breakdown on his channel, East versus West on mine. Thank you, Eddie, you're a fucking legend.
Number 1, and this is the most important one on the list. Hitting 200 plus subscribers within a year, and meeting a lot of you fans at conventions and horror nights. Now, it's something else. It really is. I can't believe I'm at 200 plus subscribers right now, and I have all of you to thank that for, because without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this and stuff like that. And I'm glad you guys watch the content. And I got to meet some of you at conventions, at here LA, at Midsummer Scream. You guys were just really cool. You came up to me, you guys knew who you were, you shook my hand. It's a surreal moment for me. When I meet a fan, it's kind of weird for me, because I'm not used to being approached and want people telling me that they like my content and stuff like that. I'm just not used to it. And I talked to the league, and they're the same way. They're just, you know, they're getting used to it more and more, but they said in the beginning it was just like one of those things where like they were just surprised that people were watching their stuff, which they make a really good content as well. But yeah, I am very thankful for every inmate in the Madhouse, and we have a lot of good stuff coming in 2019. From hopefully short films, new series are getting launched. The Mindless Horror Podcast is going to be pretty good. Hopefully start Patreon pretty soon, more live streams for you guys. A lot of horror coming in 2019, so stick around because it's going to be a good one. That is going to do it, you guys. Thank you for an amazing 2018, and I will see you guys in the new year, 2019. You guys have a good one. Bye.